Hello and welcome to my tutorial on how to set up the Soccerbot code. Before you start, make sure that you have the right system requirements. If you go to onboarding, go to make sure you create a GitHub account, a Docker account, and have a Discord account. And make sure if you have Discord, you install the app on the desktop so that we can keep track and keep in contact with the team. The first thing you want to do is check that your computer meets the system requirements. So you need Ubuntu 20.14, and the two options that are given are to purchase a dedicated computer with NVIDIA GPU or to dual boot your computer to Ubuntu. My recommendation is to get another computer just dedicated for Linux. It's because that if you're joining the team, some bit of dedication is required, and having your own a separate computer for Ubuntu can save a lot of time. But it's also possible to dual boot your computer if your computer meets the requirements of having an 8-core machine with 16GB RAM, and you have an NVIDIA-based GPU that is capable of running CUDA. Please check here. When you install Ubuntu, make sure that you have the right version, 20.04, and the storage space is at least 200GB. So this is a brand new computer that I just got, and I will go through the tutorial. First, you go to local, and you can use this snap package management to install some convenient tools. Just ignore this. And then you have the apt-get package manager, which will install some useful stuff like pip, vim, git lfs. Git lfs stands for Git Large File System. It's used for storing large files in the Git repository. Again, you can use snap to install pre-commit. Pre-commit is a tool to check your commits before you commit them into Git. The next thing you want to do is to install CUDA and cudnn. These links are just references, so you can just go ahead and run each of these line by line. Make sure you understand what they're doing. Export means to set a local environmental variable, and tools wget, for example, is to get a file from the internet. And then sudo move, I'm moving this file to this folder. And then over here, apt keyget, I'm fetching some keys that allow me to add this repository, apt repository, which is just a list of packages in the apt package management system. Next you want to do is sudo apt-get update. When you first start your computer, you should, I forgot to mention, you should do sudo apt-get update and sudo apt-get upgrade. Sudo apt-get upgrade, what it does, it takes the packages on your computer and upgrades them to the latest version that is provided from the apt repository. So apt-get update pulls the latest package versions from the apt repository, and apt-get upgrade actually upgrades your computer to the latest packages. So as this is going, I'm going to pause here and come back when it's finished. Okay, now that we are back, once you finish doing the sudo apt-get update in this step, you can go ahead and install the CUDA libraries. CUDA is a tool given by NVIDIA to allow you to increase the speed of Python processing, especially when it comes to fast like image processing and anything that requires the GPU. So this step will take a little bit more time. I'll resume the video when it's complete. Okay, the next step we do is to install ROS Noetic. We go one by one. Crawl is another way to retrieve some files from the internet. For example, I'm crawling a file from the internet. I do apt-get update, and I run this large ROS Noetic desktop full. And then this step over here adds this file to the bash RC. The bash RC is a bash script that's run every time you log into your computer. For example, let me take a look, show you it. It's located in your home folder, and if you it contains some commands, like for example alias is creating a link, shortcuts. So if I do echo is to echo a string, like repeat, like print a piece of string into the bash RC. That means I add it into the bash RC file. Now I have source. What sourcing the bash RC file does is it just runs everything in the bash RC like a shell script. And because this has sourced this bash RC, you have maybe added some new commands, like for example ROS topic. These are new commands that are added because you've sourced the Noetic setup bash RC. I've installed some other tools like ROSTEP. ROSTEP is a package management system. ROSTEP is a package dependency management system. And the way it does, you can go to ROS distro, and under ROSTEP base YAML, you can see a bunch of system packages mapped to names. I'll go more into it about this later on. Continuing, we install some Catkin tools. Catkin tools is a set of tools that will allow you to build ROS using Catkin tools, which has some better visualization of the ROS Catkin build packages. Next, you want to set up your SSH keys, so you can do SSH keygen. Just use the default for everything, and then when you go into that cd into the .sh file and cat it, you get the public key of the SSH key. You then go to GitHub settings, SSH keys, new SSH key, like a new computer, for example. And first it asks me to check it on my GitHub mobile. Okay. Now going back to the tutorial, back in setup local. Now we create the folders catkin workspace, and we go into it and run this command called catkin init. Initializes the build, devel, install logs source folder where you keep the source files, the build where you keep the built code, devel is where the finished packages are located, and install is finished binaries, and install is also where the finished binaries are located, but only when you build it in install mode. So right now the build is in the regular devel mode. As you can see, it doesn't say anything about install here. Now we want to clone the entire repository. This will take a little bit of time, so I will come back when the repository is finished cloning. Okay, so we have finished cloning the code. So next we have these 4 commands. Every time you check out a new branch, you should make sure all of these things are done. You don't necessarily need to do them all the time. Like for example, if the submodules are not like updated, or there's no LFS needed. But yeah, for example, in this instance, we're going to create a branch called tutorial branch. So this -b creates a new branch and allows me to work flexibly without disturbing what is on master. So I can do whatever I want on this branch. So you don't need to run these commands. You only need to run these commands when the latest version of the branch on GitHub gets updated, and then you need to pull from that branch. So you need to do git pull. Now we move on to installing dependencies. So now that we're in the folder, first we need to install the pip dependencies. We run this command here, and basically what this command does, it updates the Python dependencies. So again, this will take some time, and I will come back after. Okay, so anyways, we're back here. Run pre-commit install. In this case, I already installed it. What this does is every time you make a commit, you will run the pre-commit hooks. Next, we install raw step. Initialize the raw step. So over here it says it's already initialized. On raw step update. So just like apt, raw step is also maintains a list of external packages. And they're all in the raw distro file that I mentioned before. And then we run the raw step install from path. What this does, it installs all the packages that are located in package XML files. So for example, this is raw distro, and if I go to the Soccerbot package, for example, package.xml, it will search, it will look for in these dependent areas, and for example, it's depending on Java, and then it will find Java over here, and then depending on the distribution, it will install this. So basically it runs sudo apt-get install Java. So again, this will take a little bit of time because it's installing all the dependencies of this software. So I will come back to you after it's complete. Okay, we are back. As you can see, if it's passed successfully, you will say, oh, required raw steps installed successfully. Next thing we want to do is we want to build Weebots. So this is copied from the Weebots building. README file, and I just got the instructions from there. So I don't honestly know too much about how this actually works, This step would actually take probably the longest ever, because the building Weebots takes a really long time. When you type this step, make sure you check how many cores you have. For example, if you do htop, if you don't have htop, sudo apt-get install htop. Then you go to htop, you can see I have 12 cores running. I have 32 gigabytes of memory and 2 gigabytes of swap memory. So you don't want to use all your cores, otherwise your computer will lag. So I have 16 cores, I'm going to use 12 of them to build Weebots. If your computer has 8 cores, you can use 6. Just make sure you're not running too many other processes while you're doing it. As we're going through this installation, sometimes you might see a message called Python not installed. Just ignore it, because what it's trying to do is trying to build the libraries for Python 3.6 and 3.7 and 3.9. But only 3.8 is on your computer, not the other ones, so it does the 3.8. So just ignore the rest of the messages here. Okay, so when the Weebot's complete, you should see that it has no other errors. And then we can go and build the referee code. Give me 1 second. Okay, so I changed the instructions, and that should fix the problem. So back to building Weebots. Running this, and then we go into the RoboCup, I think. Then we set the we run make. This will build the RoboCup's version for the referee code. Finally, going to the game controller, installing Ant, which is I think a Java compiler thing. Going to games controller and then running Ant. You only need to do all this once, so you don't have to memorize any of these instructions. Now we move on to actually building the code. Init. Yeah, so there's some duplicate instructions. Okay, so I fixed the duplicate instructions. Basically, 1 second. Okay, we are back. So just run catcon build Soccerbot. You can also just run catcon build, and after that you can pick any of the packages. So soccer build, catcon build soccer messages will just build the messages. If the build is successful, you will see this message. If you see this note, it just tells you to do source bash rc. Another option you can do is source devel setup.bash. They're both the same thing. Oh yeah. It's recommended that you add this command in your bash rc at the end. The source for the source the packages that you have built. This way, every time you open a new tab, you don't have to run this source bash rc command. Source devel setup.bash every time. to run the robot, you just run this, and you can see that Rebot starts up. And you can see the robot starts is getting the get ready state. These are the logs. So when you run it, you notice that the first thing is the parameters. These are called ROS params, the nodes that are started, and then these are the logs, and they give you information. So at first the robot starts up, and it's I think it's running into some kind of problem, but yeah. Okay. Anyways, just use Control C to stop the program. And that's how you set up the local code. The next video in the series will show you how to set up the Docker and your ID. That will be a separate video as well. Thank you for listening.